So you're thinking about higher education in 2026? Awesome. But you're probably also thinking about the cost, right? Well, what if we looked at an education loan completely differently? Not as this huge burden, but as the most strategic investment you will ever make in yourself. Let's break down exactly how you can turn that loan into a launchpad for your entire career.
You know, this quote from the financial guide Arthveda really just nails it. We're not talking about buying a phone or a car. We're talking about financing an asset. And that asset is you. The loan is simply the tool, the leverage you use to build it. But what exactly are we building here?
You are building your intellectual capital. I know it sounds like a fancy term, but it's really simple. It's the knowledge you gain, the skills you master, and maybe most importantly, your massively expanded potential to earn money in the future. This is the real thing you're buying, and it's an asset that's going to pay you back for the rest of your life.
So let's start with the absolute most important part, the foundation for everything else. We have to completely change our mindset.
Think of it this way. A liability is just something that takes money out of your pocket. An investment, on the other hand, is something that eventually puts more money back in. A smart education loan is literally that bridge, connecting where you are right now to where your new skills can take you financially. The whole key is just making sure that bridge is built on a really solid foundation.
And that solid foundation starts with understanding exactly how these loans work. So let's pull out the blueprints for 2026 and decode this thing.
Okay, what's really cool about this is how clearly it spells out the rules of the game. You can see that for smaller amounts, say up to 4 lakhs, the banks don't require any security at all. As you move up the ladder, you'll need a guarantor. And for the really big loans, we're talking above 7.5 lakhs, you're going to need to back it with some kind of tangible collateral, like property or FDs. Understanding this structure is absolutely key to planning how much you can realistically borrow.
Now this is one of the best features of an education loan. It's called the moratorium period. Basically, it's a repayment holiday. You don't have to start paying your EMIs the second you toss your graduation cap in the air. You get this grace period, usually 6 to 12 months, to actually find a job and get your feet on the ground. It's a fantastic strategic window. But, and this is a big but, it comes with a catch.
And here is that catch. During that whole repayment holiday, while you're not making payments, the bank is still quietly charging simple interest on your loan. And if you don't pay that interest as you go, it gets added right back onto your main loan amount when the holiday ends. This is called capitalization, and it's a sneaky trap that means you end up paying interest on your interest. It can really inflate your total loan amount if you're not careful.
So how do you avoid this trap? Simple. Here's the pro tip. If you can, or maybe your parents can, manage to pay just the simple interest each month while you're still in college, you completely avoid that capitalization problem. This one move, seriously, can save you a ton of money over the life of the loan, and it keeps your final EMI so much lower. It is an absolute game changer.
Okay, so you know how the loan is structured. You know about the interest trap. But where should you actually go to get one? Let's break down your options. This is the next huge decision you have to make, because your choice of lender is going to impact everything: your interest rate, how fast you get the money, and your overall flexibility. It's a classic trade-off, really. So on one side, you've got the public banks, like SBI. Their biggest advantage? The lowest interest rates, hands down. They're a super solid, reliable choice, especially if you're studying here in the country. But on the other side, you've got private lenders. They're all about speed and flexibility. They process applications way faster and are often much better equipped to handle the complexities of going to a top university abroad. And this chart just makes that cost difference so clear, doesn't it? You can see the public banks starting around 8.15%, but private banks and NBFCs, those are non-banking financial companies, they're 1% or 2% higher. Now that might not sound like a lot, but trust me, over a 10 or 15-year loan, that difference adds up to a huge amount of money. So you've really got to weigh your need for speed against that long-term cost. All right, now, no matter which lender you end up going with, the goal is always the same: borrow as little as humanly possible. So let's get into some expert strategies to shrink that loan amount right from day one. This is called the hybrid funding model, and it is just brilliant. Step 1, you hunt down scholarships like your life depends on it. Because every single rupee you get in aid is a rupee you don't have to borrow and pay interest on. Step 2, you only take out a loan for the gap, the amount that's actually left over. And then step 3, especially if you're studying abroad, look for teaching or research assistantships to help cover your living costs while you're there.
And check this out.
Here is a powerful money-saving tool that the government actually gives you. It's Section 80E of the Income Tax Act. It lets you deduct the entire interest portion of your loan payments from your taxable income. This directly lowers your tax bill for up to 8 years. It's basically a reward for investing in your own intellectual capital.
But here's the absolute best part, the real superpower of Section 80E. Unlike other popular deductions like 80C, which have a cap, there is absolutely no upper limit here, none. If you pay 2 lakhs in interest in a given year, you can deduct the full 2 lakhs. It is an incredibly powerful benefit that not enough people take advantage of.
Okay, finally, let's talk about what happens after graduation. Because managing your loan correctly isn't just about paying it off, it's about setting up your entire financial future for success.
Think about it. For most of us, an education loan is our very first major line of credit. And that means every single on-time EMI payment is building you a positive credit history and a high CIBIL score. A strong score like that is like a financial superpower. It unlocks lower interest rates on all your future loans, a home loan, a car loan, anything you might need down the road.
So how do you know if you're borrowing too much in the first place? This is the crucial question, and here's the golden rule. The one number you have to remember. Calculate your expected monthly EMI. If that number is more than 30% of your estimated take-home salary after you graduate, you are taking on too much risk. It's a critical benchmark that makes sure your loan stays a tool, not a bourbon.
Ultimately, it really all comes down to this one question. An education loan can be the single most powerful tool for upward mobility you'll ever have, literally launching you into a high-growth, high-income career. Or, if it's managed poorly, it can feel like a heavy anchor holding you back. By using the strategies we've talked about today, you can make absolutely sure it's a launch pad. The choice, really, is yours to make.